Okay, so I wanted to get straight into this video and discuss how Love Island viewers have come to the conclusion that Danica is a colorist. And I just wanted to put the definition up here just to put this discussion into context. So colorism is prejudice or discrimination against individuals with a dark skin tone, typically among people of the same ethnic or racial group. Now, I just wanted to say here, obviously, Danica is black and white, so she's from both racial groups or a mixture of both, if that makes sense. However, anybody can perpetuate colorism. It literally just is a kind of discrimination against people with a darker skin tone. So I wanted to get into this because it is a really interesting point, and I wanted to kind of develop some of my own points, which are that, I've championed Danica a lot, but I think it's only just come to my realization that actually the whole time she's been there, kind of crying that no one's liked her, she's had actually 3 opportunities to get to know 3 different black guys who all happened to be of a darker skin tone. However, the people that Danica's actually chosen to couple up with or chosen to pursue or let pursue her have all notably been a white guy in Billy, and a very unattractive white guy compared to a considerably darker skinned black man who's probably average looking but better looking than Billy. And then Josh, who's mixed race like herself. And then you've got the 2 new bombshells in the villa, I think Jamie and Reece, who are showing an interest in her. And she's gone straight in, for that bullseye and kissed Jamie on last night's episode. She's also, flirting with the idea of Reece. I think she's not as interested, but she said she's open to talks with him. And I do find it really interesting that she is showing this. She's definitely showing a discrimination. I'm not even going to call it a preference. Okay, everyone is entitled to their preference. However, a preference can only be considered a preference if the other thing on the table is something that you don't mind, not something that you don't like at all. So I could say, well, I like oranges, but I prefer pears. But if I hate oranges and they're not in the table to begin with, then I'm discriminating against oranges, aren't I? And I think we can see here quite clearly this is what Danica has been doing. So yeah, very interesting. So let's just have a look at some of the would-be suitors for Danica who could have literally avoided the kind of hell that she's been dragged through these last few weeks on Love Island. So we've got Ikenna. Ikenna, I think, was the first guy that I saw who kind of moved to her, and I remember her saying, "Oh, you're a really good-looking boy," but it did seem like she was swerving him. She didn't say, "Oh, I want to get to know you," or anything like that. And nothing happened between them. Then there was Remi in the middle. I can remember straight away Remi expressing an interest in Danica because I actually remember him saying, "Oh, those are the type of girls I go for." Now, to be honest, Remi's not off the hook here. When I heard him say that, I kind of rolled my eyes and thought, yeah, you also sound like a colorist yourself. If the type of girls you go for are only kind of mixed race, lighter skinned, light-eyed girls, then, that's also problematic. However, she didn't give him a chance. In fact, I didn't even see anything between them, any interaction at all, but yet they were both single in the house at the same time, at a time where the white guys were literally ignoring her. Luca hated her guts for her picking him, and I just find it really strange how she's willing to go for white guys who have literally, if they're not being hostile like Luca, they've been indifferent towards her and not seen her as a romantic prospect at all. But yet she risked humiliation with choosing Luca, choosing Jay, who blatantly said that he liked Antigone. And yet it says a lot about her mindset that she'd rather pick white men who have no interest in her over black men who have shown interest. So I definitely do think there is a large truth to these kind of colorism yeah, these kind of allegations of colorism, I think we're seeing it literally before our eyes. It's like a social experiment here. We're seeing the hues of the men that she's rejecting and not even allowing to pursue her, and then we're seeing her literally chasing the white men, or mixed race men who have a lighter skin tone. Again, we've got Deji, poor Deji, the same thing. Deji literally, while Billy was, treating her like a used wash rag, Deji stepped up to the plate and said, it was like she's a queen. He wants to be able to, treat her like one, etc., etc. Again, swerve, like complete swerve. And actually, what's interesting is that I was actually looking at an old clip between Josh and Danica, and actually, Josh approached Danica just before they had their first kiss, and they were sitting outside, and he said, "Oh, so I've noticed you shared a bed with Deji last night," and they're talking about the first night of Casa Amor, and Danica literally went, "Yeah, that wasn't my choice," and the way she kind of laughed it off, like as if that would never be her first choice. I've really done some re-evaluations on um, why and how Danica has had the experience that she has had in the house, because she's literally refused to get to know men who she wouldn't necessarily be attracted to or aren't her type. But the thing is, you can have a type, but literally not date someone because they have a much darker skin tone than you, literally is the definition of colorism. Because remember, she is half black, so she's also black and also white, so those are both the ethnic groups that she comes from. So there are black girls who have the same skin tone as Danica, especially in Caribbean countries like Jamaica, where Danica is from. Obviously, there's a long history of slavery, as well as an African bloodline. There will be genes mixed in with Irish, with Scottish as well as the indentured labourers coming from India, etc. So a lot of the genes that Danica has are not actually exclusive only to mixed race people. They'll be exclusive to black people who have traces of other lineages um, through generations in the Caribbean, and Jamaica is where she's from. So it is, what I'm basically saying here is that it is colorism. Her being mixed race doesn't, exempt her from excluding these men. They are still part of her, one of her ethnic groups that she's a part of. So yeah, it's quite disappointing because I have championed her the whole time and I still like her, but I've realised, okay, it's definitely some of it falls on her. Some of this responsibility for her time in the house, for the constant rejections, literally running after people who don't validate you, don't see your beauty. I think there's a lot of growth that she needs to make. I think she needs to educate herself on her colorism. Um, and I don't know if that's going to happen. Obviously, I don't know her, don't know how she's been raised, but yeah, I think it's always really important for people to kind of identify whatever subconscious biases that they have so that they can learn and grow from their situations. So I just wanted to share a kind of headline from an article here, which says fans praise Deji for sticking up for Danica as Billy shares true feelings. And again, like you can see, her colorism put her in this really sticky situation where she went for a really unattractive white man who no other woman, no other white woman or anyone in the house wanted, and yet literally went with him to avoid being put with this dark-skinned black man who actually has shown her some interest. Now, some people were saying that, Deji's being strategic, he didn't do any grafting, but we don't know because, the producers show what they want to show us in the time that they have in the show. We don't really know when Deji showed his intentions, but to me, it's very telling that she picked Billy over Deji. So let's go through some tweets here because Twitter is literally ablaze with accusing Danica of colorism. Danica is only entertaining Deji under the Equality Act 2010. She knows damn well she ain't hiring black people for her salon. Okay, so that's someone who's been very upfront with how they feel that Danica sees things, that she would never consider, a fully black person. to date, and they're kind of speaking on what they feel is her discrimination against black men in the villa. Someone else says Danica is clearly colourist. She doesn't care for Deji 100%. I think yeah, she made it very clear that she doesn't care for Deji. Personally, I will, stand up and say, yeah, to be honest, I do think that colorism is definitely the culprit here, and it is a shame. Someone else said Danica crying over horrid Henry when a fine Deji is right there. I'm sick. Now this got 14.4k likes. Now I agree with some of this statement and not the rest. Okay, so Danica crying over horrid Henry, I think that's a brilliant analogy to describe Billy. Like, Billy was absolutely horrid. He was not attractive, and it's not that, everything is based on looks, but also he had a horrid personality on top of that. He was just horrid. Horrid Henry is the perfect analogy to describe that guy. I wouldn't necessarily call Deji fine, but he is definitely more attractive than Billy. But apparently Billy's, white skin won over, Deji's overall decent appearance, which is very sad. And then someone else, I mean, this meme now here takes the biscuit. I have to admit, this is very clever. So someone put the guys that want Danica versus the guys that Danica wants, and obviously it's got a dark skinned black guy, and I don't know if that guy is white or he's racially ambiguous looking to me, might be mixed. It's really funny though. I actually think they really have a uncanny resemblance to each other, which goes to show, people are not, races don't really exist. They are social constructions, and we have different ethnicities, but actually you've got those two men, they look quite similar to each other. So let me know what you think. Do you believe that Danica's a colourist? Do you think that she's discriminated against darker skinned men, black men in the villa, whilst kind of choosing to be courted by mixed race men? Do you feel actually no, she's mixed race, she has a right to her preference to date people that look like her? What do you think? I mean, for me personally, I do feel like people are entitled to their preferences, but it doesn't become a preference when the other thing isn't on the table for you. That's discrimination. So I'd really be interested to know what other people think about this. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment in the comment section, and I'll see you on the next video.